my pet peeve lately is it's hard to tag somebody. If I tag somebody, it doesn't pop up.
You know what? I could not tag my mother 2 days ago for her birthday.
Oh, my God, that's terrible.
No,
Like,
it's horrible. And
so
I
no,
could, I just, how am I supposed to say happy
like,
birthday? I had to go to her page and anyway.
yeah, it's so simple. Like, you just have to, like, it's just a tag. Like, why does it not, work, especially on this special day like that, right?
Something has gotten messed up with the tags, but I'm definitely having some issues with that. But I was feeling it 2 days ago. Fortunately, my sister-in-law, whose birthday is on the same day as my mother's, did tag her, which reminded me of my mother's birthday. So yeah, I'm glad that some tags worked. I was able to work around mine though.
Yeah, let me see if I can tag you here. Still trying to work on it. We're live, so
Yeah.
we'll just hang out, let
Hey.
people pop in and stuff. How's your day been?
It's been busy. I'm going on vacation Sunday, and so you know what that means.
I know exactly what that means,
Everybody
unfortunately.
wants to buy and sell this week. So I've got one, I think, somebody that we've been nurturing since March. I never met her and met her at a new construction neighborhood today, and she's going to sign the paperwork tonight. I showed somebody yesterday for the first time, and I think we're going to go under contract Saturday.
Mhm.
Um, I'm also showing new construction to 2 other people on Friday and Saturday, and I would expect all of those to be contracts by the time I get on a plane Sunday morning. So our market's insanely crazy. So
Yeah, and I'm hearing that so much. I think it's just across the board for everybody. Southern California, a lot of
I
people
think,
here, so we got a lot of stuff going on here too. Um,
yeah, we're down. I think our inventory is still up down about 20%. So I think there's a lot of factors why buyers are getting into the market, certainly interest rates. And I do have 2 clients that are tired of looking at their walls and want to live differently now that they know they have to homeschool their children all year. So
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what's
mhm,
your take on why, it is what it is right now?
mhm, mhm. It's a little bit of everything. I mean, certainly, I don't know about, I'm sure for most of us, I mean, this is this has not been a great year. As far as the psyche, I think for the country. And I do think people are you're trying to kind of get out of that funk. And I have a few people that I'm working with that are, they're trying to get out of the funk, and they're looking for a new dwelling. And if that's what it has to be, but we've got builders that have shifted to quickly putting in 2 offices.
Hmm.
And we got a couple people around here that are marketing COVID houses, which I don't
What
know
does
if I'd
that
go
mean?
that far. They've got double offices or an upstairs loft so kids can go for school. Um,
Oh, I see.
I don't need a COVID house. I need my kid to go back to school.
That's a that's taking a little far, I think, you
it,
know?
it's just, I think it's an opportunity to market in a different way, but I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
don't think I'm going to be walking into a model home that calls itself a COVID house. So
Yeah, I mean, who wants to live with that however long they're in there, 5, 10 years, and say, "Oh, we bought a COVID
it was
house."
a COVID house. No, 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 no. I,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
homeschool friendly. How's that? That is
Homeschool,
that is
yeah, I
that
like
that
that.
one that's still socially or politically correct to say homeschool friendly?
Yes.
Um, you know, um, many places have gotten rid of their master bedroom and bath. I have no creativity. I don't know what I'll call it, but
Yeah,
the big room maybe. But
right.
yeah, the maybe a homeschool friendly home is a good thing to talk about these days. But I know our county just made the decision to pretty much go virtual for school this year. So And they said indefinitely. That could change, but I'm
Mm.
happy I don't have elementary school children, and I
Yeah.
pray for all of you that do.
Yeah, me too. I don't have kids either, so I feel for everybody because they're doing double duty. Like normally kids would be in school and taken care of. Now, they have to do their work and the kid,
Mhm.
and everything else, the chaos that's happening, right?
Yeah, and I think that being I'm a single parent, the brunt of on it falls, on women traditionally, and for women that work out of the home. I mean, if you've got younger kids, somebody's got to stay at home,
Right.
and that role has traditionally been the mother, and I know that roles change, but I see families, having some tough times with that. So I certainly do. I'm very empathetic to it. And I've got one more
Yeah.
year of high school with my daughter,
Uh-huh.
but I just need her to go to school.
Yeah. I mean, the family structure is already complicated to begin with, you know,
Extremely.
right? And you just like it for many people, this is unbearable because it takes it to a whole nother level, right?
Mhm.
And so I feel for everybody, but like you said, like it you know, art in our culture defaults back to the women. And I just had this image in my mind of Homer Simpson, like you can leave kids with Homer, and like, even if you wanted to, it may be not the best thing in the world, right?
No. Marge would make him, though. She would make him.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, let me get started. People are jumping on here. Hi, hey, Matt. Thank you for joining us. Thank you all for coming on. Uh, of course, my name is Leo Chen, and you are on the Wisdom Club Live. And so here we bring on experts and entrepreneurs to inspire the possibilities out there. And I'm so excited to have Ann Rudd here with me today. We sort of was able to snatch her up like, really quickly last couple days, and was able to get her on. I'm excited to talk to her because she has extremely well-rounded and a lot of experience in not only real estate, but in the virtual assistant business as well, which I think in these days, everybody, literally everybody needs it to one form or another, whether they admit it or not, because there's so many single entrepreneurs, and then we have small businesses, maybe have just a, a, a personal assistant of some sort, but to any degree, like we need them because we can't be everything everywhere to everybody. And so I'd love for her to talk about that. But before we get to all that, which we have a lot to cover because she just got so much information and wealth of knowledge to share with us. For those who don't have context with Ann, could you tell us where you're from, what city you're located in, how did you end up where you ended up, what was your growing up like, and all that kind of good personal background stuff.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Ann Rudd, and if you can't tell from my lovely accent, you can tell now I'm from North Carolina. I grew up in southeastern North Carolina. My father owned a big John Deere dealership. We grew up working the family business, and I could put together a lawnmower pretty well, I can tell you that. We worked on farms. But another piece of my background is my parents are from Maryland, and my mother's father had one of the first real estate licenses in the state of Maryland. And so I am a third generation agent in my family. And so there is a section of my family where there is a lot of real estate background. And so as growing up, as a kid, you have so many dreams and things that you want to do. And I think all girls want to be veterinarians for a while until they go to college and realize what you have to do in vet school. So I ended up getting my real estate license after I got married and had my daughter. When she went to kindergarten, I went to real estate class and got my license about the time the market was tanking in 2008. and it turned into a really, really good situation. I did quite a lot of REO work in the Washington, D.C. metro region. So I was not licensed in D.C., but I was in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Northern Virginia. And then ended up doing new construction and moved back to my home state in 2011 and started a team here. And so I have been licensed in 5 states. Currently, I'm licensed in North Carolina and South Carolina because we're in Charlotte. We sit right on the border.
Right.
And, I love living in Charlotte. I'm close to my family, but not too close. And I love the climate here. It's hot here in the summers, but for anybody that's watching, not in Southern California, anybody that has winters, we have really, really mild winters. And I like a 4-season lifestyle. So we pay for it in the summer. We don't pay for it in the winter. Spring and summer, spring and fall are beautiful here. And I love living in Charlotte. Our city is the 15th largest metro region in the country. So Charlotte's not a massive town. It's big enough. And we are blessed to be 3 hours from the coast, 2 hours from I think like the coolest city east of Austin, which is Asheville. And we have low taxes. Our average home price in our metro region is around $320. And as far as the average income in our city goes, our homeowners in the Charlotte region are under leveraged. So we have a lot of people that have a lot of equity in their home. We have people that are buying very affordable housing. And I was telling one of my friends in California who was complaining about her taxes the other day, I bought a historic home. It was built in 1900. And it was hit by a tornado in February, but we're putting it back together. But my taxes, because it's a historic home, are $1,800 a year. So for all of you California people, come on out. The weather's okay. You can get used to the humidity, but you'll like our tax base. So I love Charlotte. And anytime any one of you are out here, please let me know. I would love to meet with you face to face and show you our beautiful city.
Wow, that's amazing. I love, there's several things there that I'm so curious about. But as far as professionally in real estate, I'm second generation. My mom's been in real estate for 40 years and she's still doing some whatever, residual things that she has going on. So I'm catching up,
Yeah.
and so I know what that's like, as well. But it sounded like when you got your license and you went in about 12 years ago to 2008, like a lot of people were struggling in real estate, and it sounded like you just hit the ground running. You found what was needed at that time, right after the crash and stuff, and so you had a lot of REOs on your plate to do, and then you worked through it, and from there it just continued to build up because we were literally at the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that's amazing. Like, I wish I would have started at that time, knowing that the run that we were going to have, and everybody knew that it had to go up because it was already rock, at the rock bottom, right?
Oh, I wish I had a crystal ball. Oh, I just wish I could go back. I mean, it was, everyone told me, like, what are you doing getting into this market? And I started my real estate pre-licensing test, and it was a very big class. And I think there was about 16 of us that finished. And I thought, I said, what do you think you're doing? But I don't know. For me, I've never been one that, I'm not the kind of person that will, kind of talk myself out of things. I'm one of those that's like, yeah, you think I can do it? Watch me. Yeah. So that's sort of always been my attitude. And, I just didn't get in my head about it. I didn't know what a short sale was. My second transaction was a short sale. I didn't know what REO meant. I didn't know what a foreclosure was. A third transaction was an REO. And you just, you make the decision that you're going to figure this out, or you get out and then, make space for somebody else. And, this year, I've seen some parallels in some ways. I think that there are some agents that are struggling. And I don't know if they're struggling because it's here or, there's fear involved, but, I do know that there are agents that are struggling. And the only thing I can tell you is, put fear in your back pocket and get out there and go work and put your head down.
Yeah, and as I go along in life here, the more that I learn, the more that I think that just everything is in here, right?
Pretty much.
So, I mean, at this moment, I can't even think of something that doesn't isn't an issue from your brain, because your brain creates opportunities and value, because if your brain can't see it, your brain can't comprehend it, your brain doesn't take action, then nothing else works,
Mhm.
right? And so so that's one big thing I always learn. So something is wrong, like there's something that I'm not thinking of. And congrats to you, because um, that those are traits of a great entrepreneur, right? Like, hey, I've committed to doing it, I've signed up, I did the work, I'm on the path, let's go. If I fall down, let's get back up, and let's keep going. There's a level of commitment that's required to succeed. And I think not everybody, you and I, like, we know each other enough, like
Mhm.
we have to have that commitment, because we stand on that as part of our ethic. But not everybody is that way. And so it's hard for us to imagine that, but then people aren't that way. And so when they fail at something, they don't feel good, they don't do it, they they what we call buffer, like, hey, we go and eat something to make ourselves feel better, because we feel bad about the failure. And opposite is that is what we actually need to do. So with your multiple businesses, obviously you had to have that kind of an attitude toward everything, which is why I love having you on. So now, regarding North Carolina, I have I know nothing about North Carolina. There was a time when I traveled all over the states, and that's not one of the states I ended up at. I did go from Pennsylvania, and we drove all the way to DC, and that's far as I went. As far as the East Coast is concerned, on top of Florida, Orlando, and stuff too. I love that you gave some ideas about the price points, the taxes, and just the neighborhood itself, because a lot of people are thinking about moving right now, and they're starting to explore, and giving that information gives somebody out there a thought, like, hey, what about North Carolina? What's there for me? What's the lifestyle like? If I were to cash out here, would I be able to live pretty nicely over there and be able to telecommute and work and stuff like that, right? So I love that.
It's a really, really good place to telecommute. Charlotte has always been a fairly progressive city. We have Bank of America and Wells Fargo based out of Charlotte. So we have a very good base of employment here. We have a few sports teams that we work with as well. But it's not just one industry. There's so much going on here. And we have a few years ago had a Johnson and Wales college come in, and so now our food scene is really quite good. Now, look, I'm 3.5 hours from Charleston. I go to Charleston all the time. The food scene in Charleston is probably one of the best in the world right now. Just a spectacular place to go. But Charlotte is not, we're 3 hours from Charleston, and it's not a bad place to come and visit as well. And it's an absolutely stunning place to live. We have if you would come here, Leo, I would take you to some of the oldest parts of Charlotte. William J. Olmsted, who planted and planned Central Park and the Biltmore House Estates in Asheville, planted and planned the tree canopies in Charlotte. And when I come to California, you guys don't have big trees. We have trees, oak trees that stretch across the road and connect with each other. It's so green here. My California friends, the first time they come, they cannot believe how green and lush it is here. We have beautiful Bradford pears in the center of highways blooming in the spring, and when the blooms fall off, it seems like it's snowing. This is a really beautiful place to live. And you know, if you want to come for a visit, I wouldn't say it's crazy exciting, but if you want to see some beautiful scenery, this is a gorgeous place to live.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I love to hike. And so anywhere where I can hike a different scenery, I will say I have been to the northern part of Georgia, and it reminded me of that with a lot of trees there as well. And I can only imagine as it spreads out, across more east, that this just becomes more lush. And that is true. I mean, we're more desertish over
Yeah,
here,
you're
although
arid.
people,
You're
yeah,
arid there. Mhm.
exactly. And people don't think of it because they live in the city and and they don't know why air is so dry and things like that. But we are arid, like you said, and in the desert. So
When
what
I
did
get
you?
off the plane, I age 10 years.
Well,
Moisture
typically,
just out of my skin.
it's so funny. It's I talk to people who either really love the super dry, or who people are like, hey, I can't have it that dry. I need some humidity for my skin. And so you just see both kinds, because I lived in Hawaii for 2 years, and it's of course subtropical and all that
Humid,
stuff, and it's
yeah.
very humid. And so I actually realized that I really love that, because I was born in Taiwan, and Taiwan is a subtropical island as well. And I just remember like all my childhood memories come back just from the moisture in the air,
Mhm.
And so I love that. But you can't beat all the amenities and everything here in California.
Oh
We don't
no. Oh
have,
no. And
yeah,
hey, look, I love coming. I mean,
yeah,
Coronado Island is the place for me. So
gorgeous, yeah,
that's where I go.
yeah. So so prior to real estate, what did you do before that?
Actually, I was a project manager, and I did almost exactly the same thing I did in the real estate business. I got a temp job. I was in college. You know, college is not for me. I finished with like 9 credits left, and it just wasn't for me. And I got a job, just a temp job, doing some project work. And within 9 months, I had worked into a kind of a low level project management position, and then just kind of worked my way up. So I worked for MCI WorldCom outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, and worked through that. And then kind of saw the writing on the wall before the telecom stuff, tanked, and they were starting to lay people off, and had a conversation with somebody that said, look, if you're thinking about taking this, I would go ahead and take the early buyout. And I did. And that's kind of where things went from there. So took some time off, had my daughter. you know we moved around a little bit and ended up in an hour north of DC where we lived. So that's kind of where, how that all ended up. But it
Okay.
certainly has been a journey.
Now, I know a lot of people out there watching, because I meet quite a few people who um, consider being a real estate agent. And so for you, what was that moment, that shift? You said, hey, I'm going to do this now.
I
I know that you've been in the family, there's a little bit of context there, but there had to be like, a switch in mindset to go after it. So for those people who are like, wondering and considering, what could you tell them?
so I don't I can't think of a light bulb moment. Maybe my light bulb moment was very early in my career. I have an aunt and uncle that were agents and did extremely well. And so maybe me as a young teenager kind of watching that and thinking, this might be something I want to do, but certainly did not. I don't think that my parents grew me to be an entrepreneur. I am the only entrepreneur in the family. But I mean, you could not have asked for a better role model than my father. My father grew up on a dairy farm in Western Maryland with not a lot. Like, he was the oldest of five. He had five siblings. They were all sisters. And his parents would kind of go out drinking on the weekends, and he had to take care of dairy cows, and he made sure all of his sisters went to college before he went. And he ended up, after college, he met my mother, and he got a loan from an uncle to start a John Deere dealership in southeastern North Carolina, a place that he'd never been. And his idea was, this cannot fail. This is not an option. And he built a very large business in a very rural place from big tobacco. Great timing, great location. Certainly didn't have a crystal ball, but he did very well. But his mindset was always, failure is never an option. And I don't think that it was ever in my mind where I thought, well, if this doesn't work, I'll just stay at home. That, again, mindset, that was never something I wanted. I don't think it ever entered my mind, but I feel like looking back, I always wanted to do this.
Great.
So yeah, and I had good support. So
yeah, I had a similar feeling too, because for me, and everybody has a story that I've heard a few of. For me, I don't want to go back to work for somebody else again. I always said that when I quit this job, this would be the last job. You know, I had worked in a tech company. They were a startup in the earlier 2000s and did very, very well. And I made them a boatload of money, tons and tons of money. And I took a salary home. And after years of being there, gosh, I could have just done this all myself. I was managing people, I was hiring, I was firing, I was, setting up processes, and all that stuff, and making sure everything was in line. I was running my own little company within a company. And so I'd already thought that if I ever got out of here, I got to think of a business that I want to do, and there's no option of going back to work for somebody else, and so that's my kick in the butt, hey, this has got to work, because I can't go as far as say it's a fear. It's just sort of I committed to myself that I need to run my own show, because I've already done it for so long for a company, and then now to go back to work for another company and start that over again, I don't have enough years in my life, for that.
It would probably kill you. It would probably kill you.
Yeah.
I tell people, Leo, I'm just unemployable.
Yes.
I get fired. We have in our office, we have this thing. If Anne was a teacher, how many hours would it take for her to get fired?
Yeah.
And then this is, if Anne worked at this, how long would it take her to get fired? They actually do. We have this conversation. So apparently I cannot stay employed more than one single day.
That's awesome. Okay. So you've worked in real estate. You built some teams, and they're continued to run as of right now as well. And I want to just briefly go over that, because a lot of people out there, they're single agents, and they always want to know what's the next step, what's the next thing, how can I grow my business? I want to touch on that a little bit, but then I want to go into talking about your passion in business.
There is a segue for that, so I can help you with that one. So and I go back and forth with it. And I talk to a lot of agents that have the same kind of, do I want to get bigger? Do I want to herd cats and babysit grown-ups? Or, do I want to just sell and try to figure out how to scale this? I mean, teams are not easy. And for anyone that gets a real estate license and just says, hey, I want to start a team, good luck. And any of us that have them know, it's a significant financial investment. It is a, especially in the first couple of years, it's a 24/7 business. You're laying sometimes awake at night thinking about stuff that maybe you forgot to do, or, what can you do better? And, and I will be the first to tell you, I have not always been that efficient at things that I've done. I'm the ultimate multitasker. It means my attention span's about that big. So, it's hard for me to be super efficient just by myself. And, and when you have so many people that, I'm always honored when someone joins my team, because they trust me enough to, and I feel responsible for their families and, the money that they make. But, it takes so much out of you. And then on top of it, you've got all the other stuff that you're doing. And, you start hiring employees. And for any of you that have made a bad hire, which is probably everybody, I made one bad hire and I swore I'd never make another one. And I had to figure out how to hire, who to hire. And I mean, my first employee in North Carolina that I hired, overbilled me massively, and then trotted down to the Employment Securities Commission and filed a complaint against me because I disputed her pay. So once I got all of that cleared up, I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And so that's when I started looking at other options. And the virtual assistant business is always, I think, as long as there's been the internet, it's been something, but it certainly was in its infancy at that point, or kindergarten. And I've had VAs for, 8.5 years now. So I have learned a lot. They have made me a better boss and a better leader for not just my virtual assistants, but my entire organization. Having someone over in another country, you have to get real good at communication real fast. And if you don't, things get missed. And it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. You're dealing with a human being. It's not a bot. It's not a piece of software. But the people that thrive with a VA are ones that figure out how to integrate them and integrate another human being into their business. And, I'm at the point right now where if you're thinking about building a team, I'd be building a team of virtual assistants before I built a bigger sales team. Mm-hmm. Because if you can get that foundation built before you build the pyramid, your foundation is going to be solid. But if you're kind of, hey, I'm going to add agents and I'm going to do lead gen and I got all this going on, and then start adding, I think it's going to be really hard for you to kind of like get everything back together. But for me, if I had it to do again, I'd hire nothing but VAs until I got it figured out, and then start forward with adding agents.
Yeah, I think the key there is that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like we're all building businesses here. And in this case, we're talking about real estate, which is service oriented on our end. What we provide is a service, and then we service people and not like, other businesses or something like that. And so everything is dynamic, it's dynamic on both sides of it. And so because of that, we have to jump through different hoops every day, which is why every day is different. And it becomes challenging, but you can only do that for so long before you get just burned out and worn out, which most people do. And I think what you're saying is that we're trying to build a business that's scalable. And even if you're just building a small team, if you build a foundation of how your tasks get done, with ease, because you're able to push a couple of buttons, and then those people that work for you can take care of it, then you can scale up, from there, right? Because then it's all the same tasks that those people can handle. And then all your sales team, when they bring in more sales, it's just more of the same thing that your virtual assistant machine, if you will just, turn out the documents, turn out the, whatever it is, even marketing, right?
Yeah, even don't fool yourself in thinking that nobody can do your marketing but you. Trust me, there are a lot of people in a lot of other countries that can do your marketing better. And I'm totally fine with, except for getting on Facebook and looking at like my nieces and nephews, I'd be fine to never get on social media again.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people would agree with you. Very few people really, really enjoy it. They do it out of obligation and necessity.
Especially now. I mean, social media is a mess.
Yeah, it really is. It's we're hoping things can kind of settle down to some degree, but there's no end so far. You know, you're dumping in all the political stuff, all the
Ugh,
new stuff, and then your personal stuff, and then there's business and ads. Like you know, for lack of better words, a cluster F. You
it
know,
is it
right?
is a cluster. It is. I don't really want to watch TV until like the middle of November. I don't want to. But you know, there's I don't know, you know, I think about all of the things that are going on in the world, but at the end of the day, there we still have people that are buying and selling. And you know, I tell people, you know, unless something like, look, this COVID thing is serious, but there's, you know, there are some things that could be so much worse. And people are still buying and they're still selling and they're still having children and they're still getting married and getting divorced and you know all the things that happen in life, and nothing has stopped. But we have changed the way that we've done business very quickly this year. You know, I have an office, but most people don't go in the office. Um, People are working virtually. I mean, I know people that are working virtually that haven't seen their assistants that live, you know, in the same town for months. So, you know, the way that we do business has changed. And I think some of our mindset has changed. And I think the time for having a VA, having someone to take those tasks so you're not jumping through so many hoops it's such an important time to start thinking about that. Because, you know, I talk to agents all the time who, I mean, they're running around in circles. It's like you can tell which ones are just frayed at the ends.
Right.
And if somebody could, for 20 hours a week, take some of that off your plate. So what you're working on are the things that are really important in your business, whatever that importance is. My VAs have decided I don't really need to be doing much of anything except this.
Right.
So, you know, the more you can give to someone else, the tasks that are $10 an hour work or $20 an hour work, so you can do the $100 an hour work or $200 an hour work, that's when you change your business and you begin to understand scale. And that's kind of where I come in.
Yeah, I think so many of the people that start businesses, solo entrepreneurs, there's that word again. I'll tell a quick story, and I think it really fits with what you're saying here. My mom, she's been in real estate, you know, for a long time, as I said, over, you know, pushing 40 years now, and she's done every single thing herself. And
Yes.
God bless her, she's done very, very well. You know, we were immigrants, and she had to raise 3 kids by herself, didn't know the language, didn't know the culture, and found her had some genius thought about doing real estate. You know, like who thinks of that, right? Like none of our family, my grandparents, nobody did real estate. She had some sort of thought about it and just been doing it since, and she's done well for herself. She's kept us, you know, well fed, and one of her dreams was that we all own our own houses, and of course we do, and multiple houses, and she owns, you know, a portfolio of 10 plus rentals and things like that. So she's good. Hold on a second. I think my camera, there you go. So she's done very, very well. And but the one thing I feel like I never want to be is that she taught me that I should never be a single agent like that, especially as with technology have gone along. We have all this technology and everything's come together where we can just about do everything, right? That we can do it now. And, you know, 10, 20 years ago, definitely not. So she still has stacks and stacks of papers, you know, from all of her contracts and everything just all piled up, and she goes to look for it. And so I said that if I were going to start a business like this, I'm not going to be a single, you know, agent, because I saw how hard she worked. And, you know, she would come to a Thanksgiving dinner, you know, and there was a time when flip phones were big, right? She would have, you know, a flip phone, you know, tied to her wrist, and two other ones tied to her other wrist. So she would come in, and like, hey, play with the kids or whatnot. We sit down at dinner, and invariably, any single one of these phones would ring. During Thanksgiving, and she would pick it up and say, "Go, oh, I gotta go," and like literally just leave. And we're all thinking how crazy she was because like, hey, do we ever get like time off, just have like dinner like once a year, twice a year, whatever it is. But that's just the way she ran it. And there's certain amount of like hardworking and as well as being responsible to her clients and building relationships and all that stuff. But I had vowed to myself that yes, I'm going to work hard, but I'm definitely going to leverage everything I can to not to because we can't just all work. We have to earn our own private time, take care of ourselves, have our own private things that we enjoy doing outside of work. Even though work is awesome, we have our personal lives as well. So that's one of my goals, is to be able to do that, and which is why you kind of, a lot of people that know me see me hiking, see me going, paddleboarding this morning, and doing a lot of things outside of just real estate. But then it always comes back to real estate anyways. Like, I'm going out hiking, somebody always wants to talk to me about real estate, like, hey, how's the market and things like that. So that's just a little story, like where I come from. And as I continue to build my business, of course I want to continue to leverage. And that's why I feel very fortunate to know you and grateful to learn from everything that you've gone through.
Well, Leo, first of all, your mom's a badass. So just, tell her.
Yeah, for sure.
She's my idol. I think that you said it earlier, we are in a service industry. I mean, we can be highly paid people in the service industry, but if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And we are in a business where, I know that we can to some extent turn it off and turn it on, but if we are not, if we're tapped out emotionally or physically or whatever it is, people will figure that out. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you really are not able to take care of others the way that I think that you would like to in this business. And we have every transaction we do is a story. And I'm honored, so honored to be able to be a part of that family story of moving into a new home, or moving up or moving down or moving to a new city. And but we can't be tapped out. And I think that when I was in the business during the REO time that we had, and it was so busy, I hated what I did. And I'll tell you a little story. And those of you that know me know this. I ended up in 15 weeks of rehab because I drank a lot. And, so that story really did kind of push me into thinking about, gosh, do I really want to have this, to do this again? And that's kind of how I got hooked up with Tom Ferry, because I needed to kind of have a reset. So I got out of rehab and went over to Tom Ferry.
That's a great story.
I needed that. And if you're, it can suck the life out of you. And if you're not figuring out how to do what you need to do better with less, like that work smarter, not harder stuff.
Right.
It's certainly something that I feel like in this business, especially how fast everything is moving, we got to have support.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit more about virtual assistants.
Yeah.
So you built this business of virtual assistants out of your own need for your team to begin with, but saw that its need for so many other businesses out there. Can you kind of go over just an overview of it for other people, and why they should, hire what you offer out of your virtual assistant business, and just let people know what they can take advantage of?
Well, the kind of the way that I got started with this, I mean, I had worked with every service and everybody out there, and I've got nothing but good things to say about them. But I had a couple of issues. And you know, we deal with some cultural things that, let me tell you, I know so much more about the Filipino culture now than I probably know about my own. But you know, it's taken some time to learn. And one of the issues I had a couple of times was I just had a VA that like dropped off the earth. Like she was there yesterday and didn't show up today. Well, you know, not answering her phone, not answering email, nothing. And you know, that when you invest time in integrating someone into your business, that's a really tough thing to deal with. You know, it's one thing if it doesn't work out, but it's another thing if it's working out and then they just disappear. So I wanted to figure out what happened and what could I do to keep that from happening again. And, you know, knock on wood, so far we have not had people just drop off the earth. And, you know, and part of it is just coming at this with the idea of service. I want to employ well as many people as I can employ, and I treat them well. They all have my contact information. I help train them. I created their training, and they can always contact me if they have any issues. And a step further, if we have someone that ends up hiring a VA that ends up being abusive or really, really difficult to deal with, I step in. These are human beings. And, you know, I work with our customers to try to understand how to integrate them and treat them like people. And, you know, our buddy Sharon Shrivata said one time to me, and it has always stuck, you know, hey, if you're standing in line at Starbucks or now in the drive-through, right? And you're thumbing through Instagram, send your VA a text and thank them for what they're doing for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're out there hoofing it while you're in line at Starbucks. And, you know, these are some of the things you can do. So, you know, of course, I didn't build this business for it to be a nonprofit. But on top of it, though, I do understand what it takes to make people happy in what they're doing. And I have VAs that have been working for an agent for a couple of years. And that to me is a testament of what we're doing, which is, you know, training them well, supporting them, supporting our customers, and making sure that, you know, we all work together to integrate and make sure that there's value for our customers.
Okay. So what I love about that is that, you know, so many people think of like, oh, I want a VA, and they go on Google and then they start searching and stuff like that. And, you know, they, you know, get on the phone and talk to somebody and from overseas, and there's somebody managing overseas. In this case, you are the bridge. You are the bridge between you and all the virtual assistants. It could be all over the world, but in your case, you know, things are working well in Philippines with the people that you hire out there. And if there's any issues, you are responsible to step in and resolve it, or get a different assistant for that to match that person or whatever it is, right? So I love that bridge aspects of it, because if I know you and you are responsible, then I feel comfortable, as Sharon would say, you know, feel safe, you know, bring that safety and the trust, you know, into the relationship where we can do business through your virtual assistants. And so that brings a lot of, you know, a trust for people to use them. I think that's been one of the biggest problem that people have, is that, you know, they try to engage them, the communication doesn't go well even from the very beginning. They really need somebody to hand off some work, but then at the same time, like, the communication's not happening in the beginning already. So they either end up trying it and not working out, or like not even trying it at all. Like, hey, you know, I can't even understand what he was saying. You know?
Right. And that's, you know, that's some of the hurdles that I've had to deal with, and I have problem solved through. So one of the things that we do is, We have any applicants that come in to they submit their resumes for our company, they have to send me a recording. We listen to them, and I listen to some of them with my American ears. I don't have an issue with an accent. My goodness, I've got an accent worse than most people, but so we all have accents. But do I have to work hard to hear your accent? And I think that's one thing that's very frustrating for a lot of Americans when someone from, some parts of Southeast Asia are working on the phones. I don't get angry that people call me, but if I have to work hard to hear you or understand you, that to me is difficult. And so I'm looking for people that, my best ISA that works for me, she's got a heck of an accent some days, but this woman is killing my database. She is a shark in my database. I don't care what kind of accent she's got. Stay on it. And so that for me is, that's a question I get a lot is, do they have accents? Honey, no worse than mine. So, so that is something that we do. There are some problems that we have taken care of. Another thing is training. We have significant training, and we have an academy that we have started in the Philippines to, not everyone is going to be able to work for us. Not everyone's going to, maybe the training doesn't take, or there's call reluctance or whatever. But the more people I train in the Philippines, the more people are out there looking for jobs, and, we'll take the best of them and they work for us. But, I'll train anyone to be a VA. But if you're looking for $1 an hour VA in the Philippines, you will get what you pay for, and it's not much. So, yes, you can go do that yourself, and you can go hire someone in the Philippines, but we have VAs that we hire out for $15 or $20 an hour, as well as our normal pay scale or scale that we have. But we have some high executive level VAs, and they are significant assets to businesses, and that's what we want. I don't need to be the biggest, but I would certainly hope to say that Ann delivers a quality product. Her VAs are well trained. If I need to get a hold of anybody, I can. And generally, it's us chasing our customers, not the other way around, to communicate. So that's kind of where I come from. And, understanding that we as agents wear so many hats. And if I can take one hat off your plate so that you can spend a little more time with your family, or spend a little bit more time in a significant way in your business, that's what fuels me. That does my heart good, because I know how hard this business is. And sometimes it is a life-sucking vampire. Yeah. And if I can bring someone into your business for 20 hours a week for less than $1,000 a month, and they give you significant value and allow you to make, quadruple or 10 times that in a month because of the time they give you, this is a great place to be for me.
Yeah, what I love about your business. So first thing regarding the accents, right? I love your accent. Like my ex-wife was from Georgia, and so she's got the Georgia peach thing, and only of course she tries to hide it, but when she gets excited or gets upset, it all comes out.
Yes, that's right. It does.
And so I don't think it's an issue of accent, like you said. I think it's an issue of communication. Like if you can do good communication, it doesn't matter what accent you got. If your communication skills are there, doesn't you can have the great. Just listening to you talking about one of your VAs with the assistant ISA. The accent probably is an asset to her. It's probably a plus, because if you combine really good communication with an accent, like everybody will remember you, how you communicate. It's a joy to work with, right? Because it's something different, right? And then, there's just that aspects of it that I can see because it's like a unique thing that you're working with. So that was just the kind of the thought that went through my head, so I don't want to discount anybody just because they have an accent. It's not a fair thing, right?
Oh
And the
no,
other thing
we
is,
all have accents, so
yeah, yeah. Well, my Chinese accent gets in the way sometimes.
it, that's the beautiful thing about us as a, as a world. We can have different accents and still communicate pretty well. So
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is what I love about your VA business is that you are already a service oriented person in real estate for your clients. You want to service them at a high level, which is why a lot of people and a lot of agents do too, which is why they tend to run around doing a whole bunch of different things, different hats and things like that. That the transaction itself is already many hats,
mhm.
within it, and we want to go above and beyond. And so we tend to push that envelope of that service, and you being able to fulfill that, knowing the real estate business in and out, and fulfill that with the VAs to be able to help people like me or any other agent out there is incredible. Because um, you could have easily said like, "Hey, I'm good," I'll run my business, totally cool. But being the face for people to be able to hire a VA, I think it's brilliant.
Mhm. Yeah, there's certainly, look, we could have 500 or 600 more solid VA companies, in the United States, and still there's plenty of business to go around for all of us. This is I still feel like we're in elementary school with the virtual assistant business, but I think that where we are in our society and what's happened this year, I think that is a business that's going to continue to grow exponentially because people's mindsets have been changed.
Right.
And look, I was one of those agents for a long time that's like, nope, I'm good. I can do it. I don't want anybody else to do it because I don't have the time to train people. And I didn't. I mean, I didn't have the time to spend with any of my family. And so, and we deal with this a lot with our customers. Like, one of the hardest things that I do in my business on a day-to-day basis is get a real estate agent's logons and passwords.
Yeah.
That is the hardest, and I try not to get involved in that, but sometimes I have to, and it's really difficult because they're so busy. And all of those things are up here, and just taking the time to put them on an email is a very difficult thing to do. And you know, having someone take some of that weight off your shoulders, I know what it feels like. It feels great.
Yeah.
And you only get better and better when you have somebody taking that stuff off. I mean, look, my team, I think it might be on a wall somewhere. I am not allowed to touch paperwork. I'm no good at it. If I have to do the paperwork for my transactions, it takes hours for me. I'll talk you through the contracts now, all 5 states if you want me to, but if I have to deal with the paperwork piece of it, I'm terrible at it. So I learned really quickly that was something I needed to get off my plate, and I don't have to spend 20 hours in a transaction doing paperwork now.
Right. Yeah, I think you bring up, good points about that, knowing what you don't want to do and be able to have that done so that your business can be more joyful, right?
Mhm.
Um, so now you had asked me like um, if you had an extra person to help you, 20 hours a week, what would you have them do? And so I've been really thinking about it um, because I'm such a doer. Like, I just see it, I do it. And back when I was working for corporate, and I had people that I manage, I was very good at like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then next day you do this, you do this, you do this. And so eventually they got trained from doing that. They just knew like when certain events happen, it triggers them, they just go do it, without me having to tell them. And of course we all get together for special projects and stuff like that. So I have this management mind,
Mhm.
and Just that what's different is I'm managing myself instead of managing someone else. And so that's kind of where I am right now. But if you were to ask me like what I don't want to do, um, I don't want to organize and I don't want to capture.
Mhm.
Okay, because I'm such a doer. I do the thing, and when I'm done, I just drop everything. I go to do the next thing,
Mhm.
right? And so I almost need like, in a digital way, I guess, somebody picking up after me and
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, here's what's the results of stuff. Here's the information we need. Let's put it in the right folder, right bucket, and stuff like that. Because if it's not organized, what I end up having to do is at some point I'm doing something else, and I'm triggered to go pull something from
Go
that.
back. Mhm.
Now I got it like it's not organized.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I know how to organize, I just don't want to do it. And so I always tell the people that work with me and say like, hey, put this here, just spend the time. Like, because I'm not going to just spend the time when you're done. Like if it takes a day, here, whole day, let's just put this stuff in order so that when we're ready and we need something, we can get it right off the bat. Because that's one of our most valuable assets is that when a client can pick up the phone, text you or call you and say, hey, I need this. Do you have it? Hey, I need this, this contract or this form, or maybe I don't remember what I put in there. Like we should be able to pull it out, like instantly without stress, because otherwise you have to go back, do a search, find out when it is, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what would have a VA do, so that at the end of the day, at the end of the year, like here are all my transactions and all the information about every client, family members, all that kind of stuff, even maybe birthdays and whatever, into the database. That's the database, right? That's the organization part of it. Like
Yeah.
capturing information and sticking it in there so that's searchable and you can find it instantly. So that part is a big aspect that I want somebody else to do. And the other part is almost like a personal assistant, because I'm capturing so much information on the fly,
Mhm.
that somebody can just put it in the proper place right away or in a to-do list so that I have it, because I don't even want to do to-do list. I don't want to make a to-do list, but somebody has to do it because I need somewhere where it says like, oh, this needs to be done Tuesday, that needs to be done Wednesday, that Thursday. So I can wake up in the morning and this should be a to-do list ready for me to look at it. Okay, today, these are the absolute must that have to get done. I can take care of them and then go on my day, go do my sales, go take care of my customers in one way or another. But those two things, it's capture and organize,
Mhm.
right? If I can take care of those two things, like you were talking about the scalability, like I can just totally scale because I can have other members on my team and we just continue to fill those folders and buckets with stuff. And any one of us in our team, could be 5 in a team, could be 10 in a team, we can all find that information,
Sure.
right? So that's kind of how I think about that, is the organization of the data and getting them into system. We still have issues. Like one of our bottlenecks in technology right now is not that computers can't do what we need, it's that we have to input it.
Yeah.
We have to get it into the system somehow,
Mhm.
right? Phones are not good enough where we can take a picture and all the information gets digested and put into all the different places. We have to do that manually,
Mhm.
right? And so I think that's the key for any business right now to virtual assistants. Like if you can solve that problem, like, I think like every single person will want to, sign up and do it.
Well, there are a few things that frustrate me. I don't. Every now and then you'll see me open my big mouth on some social media board, but for the most part, I'm very interested in what people are doing. And I still see conversations about, do you answer your phone at 10 o'clock at night? This is a basic thing that can be solved with, frankly, if you're not good at answering your phone, you need to get somebody to answer that phone for you, and you need to do it quickly. And if you need two people to answer your phones from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, that's a simple solution.
Right.
This is not rocket science.
Right.
And if that will, make your day lighter, that's a very simple solution. But there's a lot of those like things that people don't do very well that we can get somebody to do, and it just changes your life. So your getting your files correct and making sure you can get everything that you need at the drop of a hat, or even, share them with your customers or your clients so that they can go look. These are the solutions that someone else can come up with. And it's not, it's not a difficult thing. You just, once you start letting go, it makes things a bit easier. And I know it's hard in the beginning. We don't, I call it white knuckling. We do that very well. But once you start letting go, and a good exercise is figuring out how much you're worth, your work, how much do you make an hour? And don't let anyone, don't do anything that like cuts your what
pay.
your value is per hour.
Yeah.
Whether it's, going to the dry cleaners, or, cleaning up your email inbox,
Right.
whatever, those are very easy solutions that could really change your life.
Yeah, I want to say something regarding the answering phone thing, and I think we can begin to close out here a bit. I appreciate like all the time and all the information that you've given us. But so I think ideally, if it was after hours, that somebody could actually pick up the phone for me, know what the client's asking for, and since files and things are organized, they can go and pull it and have it done, not even with me having to, interject. Like I just wake up in the morning, this was done, that was done. And then maybe a client would contact me directly and just say, thank you, right? That would be like perfect to me because, as we continue on, business nowadays, and I don't know about you, but like I'm advertising and I am getting out there in front of people, building my social media and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is 24/7. There's people that's always looking. And so we don't want to turn those businesses off. Like as we continue into the future, businesses are just going to be more and more 24/7 as we get closer. I mean, just think about it. When we started doing websites and stuff like that, when I was in tech, 24/7 was like a big deal, and we all did 24/7. And nowadays, all your computers, they all work 24/7. And I think our service-oriented business are going to continue to push that envelope. And the first people to be able to offer that and be able to respond right away, in an efficient way that's not killing yourself, is the one that's gonna win all the business. Because I lately, a lot of people being displaced, they're relocating, because of COVID and all that stuff, like we were talking about earlier. One of the biggest complaint I hear from almost everybody is that, oh my God, I've been calling 5 different places. I went on Zillow. I tried to get a hold, and you're the only one that answered and showed me the home. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm sorry about that, but I'm just trying to help as many people as I can. And so when I hear that, it's like music to my ears, not in a bad way, but it's sort of like, hey, you have a need. What else can I help you with? I've shown you this home. I answered all your questions. I took the time, make the appointment, get you here, get you shown. What else do you need? There's some other homes you want to see? Let me go make some phone calls. Let me schedule it. All you do is just show up and let's take a look at it, right? And so I'm working hard, certainly, but it's part of my process, And of course, if I can, leverage more of that and do that, 10x, right? Then I can serve more people in an efficient way. Then absolutely. But there's just a real need, and I can see that so many agents out there, they just can't respond. Not that they don't want to, but you just can't. And so if we're able to and be able to serve them, I think we can build a really, great business off of it. I literally, from beginning to end, I was just on with another real estate entrepreneur yesterday and talking about that story. So those of you who are watching, like go back to yesterday's interview and you can see that, but I'll just briefly say from beginning to end, I met the client for the very first time. She was looking for a rental. I showed her a rental, and 21 days later, she closed on her home. A 21-day, 16-day escrow. And on top of that, she was from the Bay Area, so she's 8 hours away. She drove down. The first time I met her, I said, "Oh, so where do you live?" Like, "Oh, we live in the Bay Area. We drove down yesterday to see this rental, and we're relocating, and so we wanted to see this rental. We want to rent first, get an idea of the area, and then and that's kind of where we are." And I didn't push it. I didn't say, "Hey, you need to buy," or I didn't say any of that stuff. I just said, "Hey, let me help you. What else can I do for you? Oh, I'm sorry you had to drive this so far. Let me get everything set up so the next time you do come, we can see a whole bunch of them. Just show up. We'll walk you through everything so you can just focus, on where you want to live rather than focusing on, searching and this and that and the other." So she drove home 8 hours, and I found out much later that her husband told me when she came home, she told me, "We found our agent. What do you think about buying?" And so the very next weekend, the whole family drove out. I showed them six of the best homes in the best area in the area that they wanted. They picked one. We were in escrow the next day, 16-day escrow. We initially did a 21-day escrow, and my team, lenders, and everything pushed that into a 16-day. We'll close on the 15th day, but then we funded and exchanged title on the 16th day. So I was referred that as like my sweet 16 transaction, and
That's magic.
so
I mean, it's such a nice thing when like things line up. I had something similar to that happen today, and here I am getting on an airplane Sunday morning for vacation, and I've got so many people that are coming at me, and but it's so magical when you just kind of click with someone that had put 4 or 5 offers in on homes back in February and didn't get one of them, and said, look, I just need to change directions, and met somebody for the first time today, and we should be under contract for something by tomorrow. And that's a lot of trust building in a very short period of time. But I'm going to tell you, Leo, the person that built that trust wasn't me. That was my VA.
Mhm. Yeah.
So she built the trust, and then I'm able to take that just to the next level. And she said to me today, she said, your team has just been so easy to work with. And that's really what it needs to be. It's got to be easy.
Yeah, and it's really not rocket science. Like, just respond. You don't have to have all the answers in the world. Just respond and say, "Hey, we're going to work on it." Yeah. Yeah. So, so Anne, thank you so much. I really appreciate you and coming on and taking the time. I know we're a little bit over, but we always get so excited about everything that we talk about, and I'm so excited to get some extended time, with you to talk, with you personally and directly, because we're both in similar masterminds, coaching programs, you name it, we're like in everything. And I love your energy, and I love your mind of service, and really being able to help not only, your real estate agent, your real estate clients, but as well as real estate agents that need help, so thank you so much.
Well, I love real estate agents. I mean, I come from a mindset of abundance, and I love new agents. I love helping them, but I love to help agents get to the next level. And, if there's some way I can figure out how to do that for them, that makes me happy, and that fulfills, kind of fills my soul up, and,
it's super joyful, and that's why I tell that story about my client, because they were first-time home buyers in the US. They had purchased homes before in Europe, so they had a cultural barrier, and they asked a ton of questions, and I just answered every single one. Some of them were like, "Oh, it should seem obvious, but I can get it. You guys don't know." So I just tell them like, "Hey, don't worry, everything's fine. I'm going to always tell you the next 1, 2, 3 steps that's coming up, so you'll never miss anything. We'll take care of everything." But in the end, they just, even them not having ever bought a home in the US, said like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." We're standing there in their new home that they like just got the keys for, and they said, "This, we couldn't thank you enough. 16 days. This must be some kind of record, because." I don't know what they thought. Like, I don't know how quickly you can buy a home in Europe. And
Not very quick.
yeah. And so they knew there was something special that we were able to do and deliver for them and get them in. So that was really, really joyful. And same thing like you said, like if you can get those kind of results, it really lights you up to deliver that kind of results. And being able to leverage virtual assistants like you're doing, I think you are more likely to be able to do that. And you know,
Well, I think you're setting yourself up for success when you have the ability to allow someone else in. You have the time for it instead of sitting in your office digging out paperwork.
yeah, exactly. So now, as per tradition, we always ask our guests to share a quote that they love with everybody. So, Anne, would you take it away?
Of course, and I think it's very appropriate for what I do. And it is from my buddy Tom Ferry. And I might mess up a little bit on the words, but the idea is this: don't fear failure. Fear being in the same place this time next year.
Yeah, nothing could be truer. We also hear the same thing from Sharon in a different way. He always says, like, when this pandemic started, and I think you were there with us, is that, hey, imagine your business completely transformed in the next 90 days. 90 days from now, you will have this, this, and this. And sometimes he's
kind of a wizard, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like a genie. So I'll just cap off with this quick story because I'm just so excited about it. I've had this $7 million listing, this year, and it's been, I don't want to say dragging, because it's brought in a lot of buyer clients that are in the luxury market and all that stuff, and I've gotten to learn so much, through this listing that I have, and I think it was 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, he said, "Hey, this is the end of June. Like, June is going to end in the next 10 days. So what do you guys want to accomplish by July 1st?" Like, he wanted us to keep in mind, like, hey, what's in front of you? What can you take care of right now? And I just blurted out. I just said, I want to sell my luxury listing. And you know what? The very next day, we got an offer in, and we're at escrow for it. And I closed on this escrow on Monday.
Such a good story.
But all it took was him just
Yeah.
asking a question, and me being able to respond and put it out there is like what I wanted in my heart. And because this listing I've had for 6 months, and luxury doesn't move that quickly,
Yeah.
So I had this expectation, like, hey, prepare for the worst, but then hope for the best, And but my seller has been calling more and more frequently. When you start to get that, like the motivation is there. And so I put it out there, and so everything is, contingencies all removed and everything, and so we'll close on Monday. And so I think these genies, like, in our lives, are very, very important. Such small things like that, just somebody to say, hey, what would you like to have done today? Like, we don't stop to think about that. Like, we're just like, going on our thing, and when somebody asks you that, you could kind of put out a little wish, and you wish it happens, right? So wanted to share that story.
That's
great. Super great. So thank you so much, Anne, again, and thank you all for watching. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, during our conversation as you're watching the replay, just feel free to comment in the post that we have. All of Anne's contact information is there. Anne, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Oh, shoot me a text. I can't get away from my phone, so I'll take another text message. 704-617-0847. If you text me Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week, I will be in Yellowstone.
Oh my God, so nice.
You're gonna have to give me a little time. I'm taking my 17-year-old and her best friend 17-year-old to a place where there is no cell coverage, and I can't wait.
That's awesome. So enjoy your vacation. And so for everybody out there, feel free to text. And like I said, you can always leave comments here on this post. Anne is tagged on it. And so we can always circle back. If you guys you guys are crazy for not really seriously thinking about using a VA to any degree. And you know, Anne runs a super great team, and she a fantastic manager, you know, at it, and just getting you connected to the right VA, you know, right contracts and things like that, so that you can get taken care of. Like, I can't think of anything easier than that. Like, just text or call Anne and like, hey, this is what I need done, and she'll take care of it. So there's nothing easier than that. So I encourage you, you know, to kind of offload some of your stuff. All your single dads out there, or married dads that want to spend more time with your family, offload some of those hours, you know, and be able to help out your wife, you know, and spend some time with the kids.
And if you're nice to me, I might be able to find a VA that'll help teach your kids something so you don't have to do homeschool every day.
Oh my God, so many awesome ideas. So many awesome ideas. So anyway, that's it for us. Thank you for watching. And again, this is Wisdom Club Live. We love to inspire and unlimited possibilities. And Anne has certainly brought all the unlimited possibility to all of us, and appreciate her being on. That's it for us. Have a great Thursday, and I will hope to see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.